Welcome Yamhill County to Speaking Frankly. I'm your host, Howie Harkema, and our tagline is, "And how we doing?" Today I have two really good guests. The first is Steve Wick. Steve, nice to have you with us.
Nice to be here.
And Wayne Wiebke. Thank you very much, Wayne, for being here. Both of these gentlemen are proponents of the Yamhelas Westsider Trail. And you've been involved in this for a while because this has been an ongoing issue for quite some time now. So before we go into the questions, I'm going to read this statement from your website. The Yamhelas Westsider Trail has a widespread support from the local communities it directly impacts, from Yamhill County and from the state of Oregon. Like all trails, our project will undergo three main phases. Number one, acquisition of the property. Number two, development of the trail. Number three, ongoing maintenance. We are in the acquisition stage of this long-term project. So what is the Yamhelas Westsider Trail?
Well, first, the correction on the statement. I didn't catch that earlier on. The acquisition has happened.
Right.
So that happened November 2017.
Okay.
And so where we're at now is we're looking at, well, this morning it was voted to go ahead and accept a contract with a engineering company to engineer or engineer three bridges and build one of them. So that's a development part of it. The other is that we do have and that was based on a grant that was built,
okay,
or gotten. And we have a grant to pay for and do a master plan, which is the blueprint,
right,
of sorts for the trail. But essentially, it will be a trail that will give people access to biking, walking. There will be some places, hopefully, that we can build into the master plan and into the trail for equestrian. That'll be Steve here as an equestrian, so he'll be part of our solution to that. But it's the first phase will be Carlton to Yamhill to Highway 240.
Sure. And
that's kind of will be the model as to how the rest of it will be built too. We'll get that built. I say we're the friends of the Yamhelas Westsider Trail.
Right.
We're a nonprofit organization, 501c3, and we're partners with Yamhill County in doing this. So we're kind of the community part of it.
Sure.
And so that'll be the first phase, and then we can be looking at what the next phase would be, whether it would be going from Yamhill to Gaston, because the trail extends on down that.
Right.
Or if McMinnville and others get involved in trying to make the connection to McMinnville, then if that is taking place, then the next phase might be coming south.
Sure.
And making connection to McMinnville.
That makes sense. So you guys are a nonprofit 501c3, and you work with a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yes.
I looked on your website to see some of your member names. It's quite amazing.
Yes.
And Ken Wright's still involved. And
oh yeah, he's our treasurer, and both of us are board members. I'm
right.
the president of the organization, and Ken's the treasurer. And
so would you please discuss the right-of-way issues, and is it mostly pushback from farmers? Go ahead.
I'll talk a little bit about that. I'm a Yamhill County farmer, and the right-of-way, which is the old abandoned Southern Pacific rail line that went from Forest Grove through McMinnville, is bordered by a lot of farms. And the farmers are concerned. That's the main objection, or one of the main objections. The farmers are concerned because this is going to impact them because it's adjacent to their farmland. And the worst problem that they're looking at right now, they're saying, is we're going to have a problem spraying next to the trail.
Yeah.
If we spray next to the trail, we might get on, spray somebody, and then we're going to incur lawsuits and stuff like that. And that's extremely understandable that they're concerned, because the state of Oregon has changed the laws on spraying and making it more, it isn't as easy to spray, and you have to be careful what you're doing. Nothing wrong with that. And you have to ensure that your spray doesn't encroach on anybody else. So they're saying, well, you can't put this trail in here. It's going to have an adverse impact. Now, I'm a farmer, and I have to spray. And I have, there's different ways of spraying for different crops.
Sure.
And on some of the crops, they can just spray with a boom. And that keeps the spray down close to the ground, and it's not going to migrate or something like that. But on some of the other crops, you have to use what's called an air blast sprayer. And it literally blasts your spray that's in liquid onto your trees, onto grapes, or in my case, I spray hazelnuts, filberts.
Sure.
And I have to spray mature trees. Along the trail, there's not so many mature trees, but there's a lot of new orchards, and those have to be sprayed. And their concern is, well, gee, my spray might go over on somebody. But as a farmer, we learn how to manage our equipment and ensure that what we're doing doesn't violate or trespass, that our sprays don't violate or trespass on anybody else's property. And so I can understand their concern, because this is a new right-of-way that they're going to have to watch. Currently, right now, if I spray alongside my neighbor's property, near his dwelling, or if I spray alongside a road, I have the same responsibilities that they're now going to face on this new right-of-way that they're going to have to ensure that they don't get sprays on. So they're not doing anything different. It's just a new concern for them.
Right.
That, hey, and they're really concerned about that. They don't, that's part of the problem, is the spray. It's the biggest concern. But the other thing they have is access. Can I access my field on the other side? Is there going to be vandalism? Is there going to be dogs running up and down this trail and getting out and getting to my cattle and stuff like that? And you can understand their concern. I can understand that concern, because I have critters on my property, and I have to put fences in to keep my critters in. And the other thing is that sometimes some animals, some people, like there's one farm near the trail that has buffalo. And there's a lot of people that are going to want to go over near a fence or something like that and quote unquote pet the buffalo or something like that. So all these issues have to be dealt with to keep everybody happy.
Right.
There's also people that have houses along the trail, and they're concerned about, well, is there going to be vandalism? Is there going to be vagrants and stuff like that?
Right.
And if you take a look at some of the studies that have been done on the other trails, everybody had the same concerns.
Sure.
What's going to happen? Am I going to be able to farm? Is there going to be vandalism? And we've seen some summaries of, I was just reading one on a summary of about 20 trails in the United States. And every one of them started the same way that our trail started. There was a lot of concerned people, and they're saying, no, we don't want this. But into the trail, 5 years, 2 years, 10 years down there's no more concerns. And the people that were concerned about the trail have found out it's another asset for them.
Right.
So, yes, farmers are really concerned about this right-of-way being used, and people that live next to it and stuff like that. It's just something that everybody will have to work together to make sure that we come up with plans that work for everyone. And that can be done. And I think when the master plan comes out,
The master plan is where all that gets
Right.
taken care of.
all that will be taken care of, because we literally, everybody will have to go property by property and ascertain needs, requirements, and everything else.
The major thing is with the farmers is the spraying, but others it's privacy.
Sure.
It's security, because if you can imagine if you were living next to a trail in town and a trail comes by, you would be concerned about people coming from the trail onto your property.
Sure.
So safety and security is important. So part of the master plan will be going to that person and asking what would it take to, would it be building a fence if it's security, would it be building a fence and maybe arborvitae if it's both?
Right.
Those kinds of approaches. So that's the master plan. That's where the
Sure. So don't you find that part of the challenge is change is always something that most
Exactly,
people
yes.
are afraid of?
Yes.
And best practices of what you do with your spraying and how you spray makes a huge difference?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
And this first phase is what we see as kind of showing that that change will not be negative. It's not going to impact them the way that maybe they're thinking it might.
Well, like what you said about people after a couple years or maybe 5 years or whatever, they may fall in love with this whole thing and think that this is the best thing since ice cream.
Yeah.
You know, you never know.
I use a lot of trails.
Yeah.
I'm a biker and I'm a runner, and I've noticed that on trails that have been built and you have an old fence with a new gate in it.
Sure.
Because either the person that was there when the fence was built put it in, or somebody new bought the property and they want access from their property onto the trail. So that's not uncommon.
Yes.
I was just talking to the administrator of trails down in San Diego, and she was telling me, our trail's been in for 19 years. She says, when we first tried to put it in, we had a heck of a time, and it bordered a lot of farming property, and there was a lot of concern. And she says, and spraying was one of their big concerns. And she
Oranges,
says,
avocados, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of spray.
yeah, and she says, we don't hear anything anymore.
Yeah.
We don't. Nobody has any concerns.
That trail, the trail he's referring to, and it's the same. I have a thing over here. This
Why don't you hold that up?
this company here, Alta rather. They have an office in Portland. If you're
Hold it right here.
up here,
Yeah.
if you're interested in finding out about trails and mitigation of farm properties, that just Google that trail and agriculture, and you'll find that that's a multiple trail study. But they got together with the San Diego County Farm Bureau, and they worked things out. That they came together that way.
Yeah.
So those things can be done.
They can be done, and that's the point.
And we're hoping we can get to that point.
So would you guys please discuss the Yamhill County Commissioner's take on the trail and in this post-acquisition of the property?
Well, it's it's, how do I say this? We have a three board member commission.
Right.
And when we started out, we had 3 commissioners back in 2012. We had 3 commissioners approving it, and we'd had that for several years, and then it became 2 commissioners, and we've had several commissioners come and go, but the ones that have come on board have been for the trail, and so far it looks like that's where we're at right now. Casey Kula was, he's getting his feet wet. He wanted to make sure he understood everything.
Right.
He's asked a lot of questions. This morning he voted in favor of a contract that will build those bridges, as I mentioned. And so that's where we are now, two commissioners, 4 pretty much. But Rick Olson, he will question, and if the process isn't right, well, he'll make sure that
He'll let you know?
Yes. And he's done it a couple of times, but with new information that satisfies. He has a 3P principle that he follows, and one of them is proper process and and the process has to be right. So, but no, it's been, and they've been supportive of the grants that we were going for. In fact, they, since we've acquired, or right at the point, hired a grant writer, project manager, full-time.
That's
So,
important.
that is very important. And so that was a very positive step, I think, not just for the trail, but for other things in the county, because she's not just writing grants for the county, she's bringing grant money in for other projects.
Sure.
And even helping the towns in the county. They're sharing her as a
Which they tend to do
yeah,
on
well,
good projects.
yeah,
So.
because the cities and the county depend on getting grants to do a lot of things too, and they need help a lot of times because they can't afford to have somebody do it for them.
So I'm not surprised with Casey Kula asking a million questions, being a farmer himself.
Yeah.
So I'm never surprised. When you guys initially began, I believe it was Alan Springer and Primozic and Mary. Who was it?
No, it was Leslie Lewis, Kathy George,
Kathy
and
George
Mary Stern.
and Mary Stern, sure.
Yeah. Actually, when I first started 1991, it was, I forget who was there then, but Leslie and I did it again, had another 501 in up and through 1998, and Leslie Lewis was on the board then, but and I forget again.
It's too long ago.
Too long ago.
Don't feel lonely. I have the same problem. So how are you drawing your support from the county citizens for this trail?
Well, we have our website, but
Yes.
we've been doing outreach for over these all these years.
Sure.
We have information booths at functions such as Derby Day and Carlton Fun Days,
Right.
and over in Newburgh and the Farmers Market here in McMinnville. But we also have been doing public meetings since the beginning, where we set up like over in Yamhill. I think our first real public meeting was in Yamhill back in 2012 or 2013, and then we had a number of them when we got a grant from the National Park Service to do a conceptual plan, and it was about a three-year process, and that involved bringing the community in, doing surveys as to what they saw the trail being, what they saw as being pluses, or what they felt they didn't want to see or didn't want the trail. That we got it all, and those required public meetings and online survey set up, and so we did a number of those, and then the county has been having hearings. The Planning Commission has had a couple of hearings.
Sure.
And the county commissioners have had a number of hearings. We had the last one last week, and that you asked kind of about opposition. Well,
right.
The opposition, this gets off your question.
I know. That's all right. That's all good.
But the opposition, which are primarily farmers, appealed to the Land Use Board of Appeals. Which,
right, LUBA. Yep.
Yeah, LUBA, which the trail is in their jurisdiction, and their primary reason for the appeal was what Steve was talking about. Spraying is a significant impact on their farming practices, and is a significant impact on their farm costs. So that's still in process.
But if they're using the best practices on the spraying issue, it should already be a no-brainer.
Well, it's
Absolutely, it should be a no-brainer. I mean, because they have to spray. We have to spray. I have to spray next to roads.
I know. I
next
get
to
it.
dwellings and stuff. And so this is just another road.
Yep.
This right away that I'm going to have to spray. That somebody's going to have to spray next to.
Yeah. There's rules and regulations on the back on the label of everything you spray, and those are legal.
Right.
You have to follow the law on how
Exactly.
you do it.
It's a standard, and you have to follow it.
Yes.
So, will private property rights be infringed upon?
Well, it depends on how you want to look at that. If you own the property next door, you might think that just somebody going by is an infringement on your right, but legally, no. It's not going to be infringing upon anybody or taking anybody else's property. I guess that would be the primary right, but no.
So if the person walked up to the bison that you're talking about and began to pet them, that would be an infringement of their property. Is that not incorrect? Is that correct?
Well, one of the things that the county has said that they're going to do is to fence the right-of-way.
Oh, good.
And so if we have the fence along the right-of-way, and all the studies have shown that it's very important to fence it, so when you have an attractive nuisance, that's what they consider a buffalo
I get that,
farm.
sure.
When you have an attractive nuisance, the county's going to mitigate that and keep people away from the farmer's fence.
Right.
And we've, county official and myself have already gone out and talked with that farmer.
Okay.
And walked the entire length that would be, he's of his farm, and looked at it and talked and suggested, and has a buffer of blackberries and trees, and
Well, that's a good thing.
and then you get to the wire fence, and then inside that is a high-powered electric fence.
fence,
So,
sure.
But in fact, that was kind of a little bit of a comical thing, because in one of the hearings, the attorney for the opponents of the trail was envisioning stampeding buffaloes coming across. I'm not,
that's
I'm
pretty
not
funny.
exaggerating.
That's
Yeah,
pretty funny.
that was part of, yes.
So will the development of the trail affect farming practices other than the spraying?
Not if so farmers are going to need, in some places they're going to need gates to cross the trail.
Sure.
Okay, so that again will have to be worked out with the county.
Right.
Like we said, when that master plan is developed, each one of the issues that a farmer has or something like that is going to have to be addressed and made sure, and has to be make sure that it's mitigated.
Sure.
So will it affect? It may make, in the case right now, somebody might be able to drive across the abandoned right away without even asking permission. In the future, it might be a minor inconvenience, but it's not going to stop farming.
Well, the other thing he mentioned, Steve mentioned easements. The purchase of the property came with existing easements, and those were farm easements. So those will be in existence. But there's easements, or there's use back and forth that weren't built into the deeds. So those would have to addressed individually. We've already been working with one farmer, a large farmer. It's not in the first phase. It's a large dairy that actually is located on Old McMinnville Road.
Okay.
But the pastures run west, and he has pastures on both sides of the right-of-way. One of them is between the railroad right-of-way and Highway 47, and he moves upwards of 100 heifers or young cows back and forth across that. So we've already worked out a gating system for that. In fact, he uses the same gating system to get across Old McMinnville Road when he moves cows back and forth across there. So those problems can be taken care of. We're not plowing new ground here. We're doing what people do all across the country and other trails.
Sure. So we have about 4 minutes left, so I'm going to kind of speed things up a little bit. So who will manage the trail and enhance the public safety?
Well, manage the trail, it's a county's trail, so they'll be the ultimate manager. The Friends Group, though, as a partner, have already committed to maintenance. We've committed to not only financial support on that, but with volunteers. That's when we take lists and they're signing up, and we have a place on the sign-up sheet for checking volunteer. They say, I'm ready to go out and clip blackberries or whatever it is, and that's a big part of maintaining a trail, especially when it's new. So as far as that kind of maintenance, picking up the trash bins and those, you know, that first phase will tell us just what kind of volunteer needs we'll have.
Sure.
But we've got and we have a volunteer coordinator within our friends group. That's a position. But I don't know if that answers the...
It does,
yeah.
certainly. Do you think that you'll have picnic tables or anything for people to eat and such as they go through the...
I envision that.
Yeah.
I envision any place there's a little bit of a wide spot and some shade that, and that's the other thing that we as a friends group, being a 501c3 nonprofit, we can fundraise for those kinds of things.
Sure.
We can look at grants that the county as a public entity can't, they don't qualify for.
Right.
We don't qualify for the grant, a lot of the grants that the county has, like the ODOT, Oregon Department of Transportation, those, but we can go after private grants that would pay for just those kinds of things.
So what about emergency services and fire response?
Emergency services, the trail will actually the trail is going to be on a 60-foot wide right-of-way.
Swath, yeah, sure.
And 12-foot, 10-foot minimum paved. Some areas up closer to towns it might be 12 where you have higher usage and everything, but and then a place for equestrian that won't be paved, but so that'll allow for ambulance and that type of thing.
Sure.
And that's come up as an issue too, as to how that will work. And as far as fire suppression and that kind of thing, it'll add another avenue for fire trucks or water tanks to get down to places where now but they'll probably still have to come across somebody's field at times, but just because of the convenience in getting there quicker.
So this is going to be my last question. You have about 2 minutes for both of you to answer. Where are you currently in the process?
Well, we're currently in the process of the appeal, the LUBA appeal.
Right.
We're also in, well, getting the contract together. We've had approval from ODOT. ODOT had to give approval on the master plan to go forward with that.
Right.
We had to meet certain criteria to do that. So that's been done. So getting the master plan up and going this spring, that's going to be huge.
Which are the engineering drawings and such, correct?
That will include the engineering drawings. It'll be we have landscape, a lot of landscape drawings because
Sure.
that's what the conceptual plan
Right.
was about. We had landscape architects involved in that. So yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, we just look at this as an opportunity for the county and actually an opportunity for Oregon, and it's going to be great to get people off of Highway 47
Right.
and get them on a dedicated path where they can ride their bikes, their horses, or walk, or something like that. And as you know, Highway 47 is not a friendly place
No,
to be
it's
riding
not.
a bicycle or walking or something. So this is going to be a tremendous asset for the communities, especially between Yamhill and Carlton, and it's just...
Eventually, between McMinnville and Forest Grove is what I picture.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and in fact, the city of Gaston's working on the Washington County part as we speak, so
Awesome.
everybody wants a piece of this thing.
Well, best of luck to you. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
And best of luck. All I can say is it's moving forward. It's at a snail's pace,
Yep.
but that's the way things that are really important
It's
work.
a marathon, not a sprint. That's
There
what I
you
always
go.
have to tell people.
Yeah, Wayne's been working on this for how many years?
A bunch. Yeah.
Yeah.
A while.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. And thank you very much for watching today. If you watched the tail end of the credit roll, you'll find that my email is there and also how you can get in touch with me, as well as the YouTube channel and my Facebook page. And thank you for watching today.